After the meeting. Are you? Actually, we gotta start our meeting anyway. Good. How are you? How things going? Good.
Okay. Had babies due 3 weeks now.
You rest.
Alma Mater's in the NCAA tournament. So like the St. Bonaventure University. Down here. UCLA can play in game. And we're playing Florida and Florida.
Oh, sure.
I appreciate it. That's insane.
Break the bell. Sergeant at Arms. I like.
He's a Sergeant at Arms.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to bring the March 15th meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Zemmel, can you call the roll?
Here, I'm here.
Mr. Kuznick.
Present.
Mr. D.
Here.
Mrs. Ferrara.
Here.
Mr. Heckman.
Here.
Mr. Kraft.
Here.
Mr. McGee.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Here.
And Ms. Lewinsky.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I need approval for the minutes of March 1st, 2018.
Motion to approve by acclamation, Mr.
Second.
President.
All in favor?
Aye.
You. Next thing on the agenda is courtesy of the floor. I have one person signed up, Mr. Jeffrey Fox from Penn Argyl.
Well, at least you're all awake. The following is adapted from comments by Jim Zachary, and he's the editor of the Valdosta Daily Times. Open government is not a political platform, it is a basic American right. The political landscape is more polarized than ever, and there seems to be little common ground for conservatives and progressives. Transparency, keeping the light on the people's business, ought to be something everyone can agree on. Instead, conservatives want to reveal the secrets of liberals, and liberals want to expose the actions of conservatives. And openness in government is not a liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, independent, libertarian, or freedom caucus issue. It often appears that whatever party is in the minority becomes the champion of transparency right up until the time it is in the majority. Openness and politicians stump on transparency and are all about open access until they have something they want to keep secret. The need for transparency at all levels of government transcends parties and political ideologies. Checks and balances provide few checks and little balances when officials broker deals behind closed doors and conceal documents that contain information that the public has the right and often the need to know. Northampton County government has huge impact in the lives of people on a day-to-day basis. Whether it is in the form of taxes, state-shared tax dollars, or federal or state grants, loans, and funding, Northampton County government is indeed taxpayer-funded, and the public has the right to know how its money is being spent. The decisions being made, the dollars being doled out, and the records being kept by Northampton County belong to liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, independents, libertarians, and even politically disinterested individuals. All of us have a stake in open meetings and public records and should care about transparency issues. The lack of and need for true government transparency should be about the most bipartisan cause that exists. And any elected official who truly cares about public service in a real and meaningful way and fully understands what a representative form of government is all about should not only champion openness in government, but should be the most effective watchdogs looking out for the public trust. Sadly, those kinds of elected officials are hard to find. And citizens need to understand that access to government documents and actions is our right and our responsibility. I urge Northampton County to join this Commonwealth and the Borough of Penn Argyl, among others nationwide, and proclaim their commitment to and support of National Sunshine Week recognized the week of March 11th through 17th this year to coincide with the birthday of James Madison on March 16th tomorrow, and called such in reference to the Federal Sunshine Act of 1976. When Pennsylvania followed suit with the Right to Know Act, also known as the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. 2018 represents the 13th year of National Sunshine Week. We are watching. We, the people.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address council? Sir?
Matthew Dees, West Easton. Ladies and gentlemen, last month I presented problems I have with the West Easton Work Release Facility. My apology is I could not remain at that meeting. I wanted to appear at a zoning hearing board meeting in my borough that started 15 minutes after I concluded here. My appearance in February was one brought out of frustration, which you probably recognized at my presentation. Only days before, a right to know I submitted to the district attorney's office seeking information on the number of escapes or failures or failure to returns was sent back to me indicating there were no records on file. Ultimately, a right to know to the county solicitor provided the information I sought a few days after I appeared here. Residents of West Easton had complained of trash, the milling of facility residents outside the gate, cars suspected of being owned by facility residents parked on West Easton streets in violation of our ordinance, incidents of verbal abuse by visitors to the facility, and other problems that had been on the rise for the last few years. My approach is different from that of West Easton's mayor, who publicly chastised me for speaking to you without some type of permission. I think we can all agree that nobody requires approval from another to speak at a public meeting. I'm not an ambassador or a politician who sugarcoats what I say. I'm more like a grumpy old man looking forward to the day I retire, sitting in my rocker yelling at kids to get off my front lawn. Rather than push the problems with the work release facility uphill through the bureaucracy, I gave it directly to you and County Executive McClure. Problems are often solved much more quickly when they roll downhill. In the month following my first appearance, I believe much has been accomplished to correct problems I mentioned in February, or at least to make improvements to a situation that had been festering for the last couple of years. A right to know was delivered giving an accounting of those who either escaped or failed to return to the facility over the last 6 years. The guessing at how many there were and the increase each year has been eliminated. Having accurate facts should assist in correcting that problem and can be used to see if the following years show improvement. Our mayor, likely feeling forced to react to my appearance in February, finally arranged a meeting with Executive McClure to discuss the problems. 5 of 7 West Easton Council members attended a tour I arranged of the work release facility, and the tour was an enlightening experience. Excuse me, a little dry mouth here. Was an enlightening experience with questions or concerns answered honestly and without reservation. A direct contact number to a member of the work release facility administration has been provided so that residents of West Easton who live in the immediate area of the facility can call directly and have someone respond immediately should they have a problem caused by a resident or a visitor to the facility. The procedure of picking up and dropping off facility residents has been changed to conform to West Easton's ordinance so as not to hinder street traffic or inconvenience those living near the facility. I'm told facility residents will be used to clean the gate area of the facility where litter had become a problem. It is my understanding that the mayor of West Easton will now be informed should a resident escape or not return. He can, in turn, notify residents should he deem it necessary. This was not something done in the past. I wish to thank County Executive McClure for his quick response and direct involvement in seeking remedies. Also to any of you, if you took an interest. I also want to thank your administrators of the West Easton Work Release Facility. They and the guards who were present during the arranged tour were professional and courteous. We were given unfettered time and information during our tour of a facility that even I must admit makes me wonder why a resident would decide to forfeit their stay in West Easton by not returning. the facility is far better than I had expected, with many amenities afforded to the residents I had not expected. If my naval service had afforded me some of what I saw in the facility's barracks-like setting, I might have done a full 20 years rather than only 5. It is my hope that this year, following some of the changes implemented, West Easton residents will have less complaints about the facility, and the desire of the facility to be a good neighbor, as was told to us many times, will be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address council tonight? Seeing no one? Oh, I've seen someone. Jeez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know I'm short.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm sorry we're a little late. My colleague and friend and I, we got caught up in that Martin Street rush hour.
I'm going to say your name and name and address, sir.
Apologize. I'm Rich Grusella, and I live in Martin Street, Pennsylvania. I'm the vice chairman of the Bangor Area Commercial and Industrial Development Authority, and I'm here with the chairman, Mr. Jeff Manzi, and we're here, Mr. President, colleagues, former colleagues, Ferraro, former colleague Heckman, members of council, Madam Clerk, Solicitor. Good evening, and again, I apologize we were a little bit late. Didn't you guys start early nowadays, Ron? But anyway, I know you have a busy agenda, and we're just here in the Slate Belt. Jeff and I, for a long time, Jeff longer than I, have been working on economic development in the Slate Belt, and we've taken, I think as Matt knows, we've been crawling for quite a while, but we've recently taken a lot of baby steps, and we're really ready to walk. And one of the things that will really help us in the Slate Belt is this LERTA ordinance for Upper Mount Bethel Township. It'll provide us on this authority that we have now to really make some really gains economically in the Slate Belt, to provide some jobs. We're a rather unique region. We understand that. We are, more probably northern New Jersey, southern Monroe County, a little bit, out of the Lehigh Valley specter to some degree. We understand that. But we really would appreciate if Upper Mount Bethel's ordinance were to be adopted. It would be a tremendous aid to us so that our committee can continue to try to seek economic development, good jobs, good, clean businesses to come into the area so that we can really help out the school district with the property tax issue. So Jeff and I are here this evening. I'm not sure if Jeff wants to make any comments, but if you have any questions, we'd be certainly happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else that wants to speak to council? Okay, seeing no hands, nobody standing. All right, move up to the next agenda item is the confirmation of appointments or reappointments. Mr. McGee, could you please introduce the resolution?
Absolutely. The resolution by the Northampton County Council that the following individuals shall be confirmed in their appointments, reappointments as indicated hereafter. Children, Youth, and Families Advisory Board, Angela Scott Fernison and Susan Grassi. Term to expire 1/15/20. 3/15/20. Susan Grassi, term to expire April 1st, 2020, and Frank Palmagruto, and that term also expires April 1st, 2020. The Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board appointments: Janet Zuck, term to expire March 15th, 2020. Housing Authority appointment: Christopher Gulata, term to expire February 9th, 2023. Industrial Development Authority appointment: Thomas O'Donnell, term to expire March 17th, 2023. Lehigh and Northampton Transportation Authority reappointments: Cordelia Miller, term to expire March 2nd, 2020, and Kevin Lynn, term to expire March 2nd, 2023. Lehigh Valley Planning Commission appointment elected official: Melissa Davis, term to expire December 31st of 2021. And reappointment elected officials, John Thank you, Diakianis. Term to expire December 31st, 2018. And also at the Citizens at Large under the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission is Kevin Lott, term to expire December 31st, 2021. Mental Health Early Intervention and Developmental Program Advisory Board appointment, Frank Pellegrino, term to expire January 23rd, 2021, and I apologize for mispronouncing the name. Revenue Appeals Board, Thomas Karasi, term to expire December 31st, 2019. The above that is all.
Motion to approve as accepted.
Motion to, okay.
Oh,
Did
we
you,
just vote?
Did
Oh,
you
we don't have
recommend
to.
it from your committee?
Yes.
Did you
Oh,
recommend
sorry.
it from the committee?
Yes, it was
All right,
recommended.
Just ready to get moving.
One at a time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Any discussion on these many, many appointments?
Are any of them here?
Are any of them here was a good question. Anybody here that's on the list of appointments? We'd like to publicly thank whoever it is who's watching online. Any other discussion on this? We talked about it last night. Everyone was here. Call for the vote.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky. Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
And Mr. Deep.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is county executive report. Anything, Mr. McClure?
Deference to your agenda, long agenda tonight, but Mr. Kraft, I don't have a report.
Okay, thank you. I need to have somebody make a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss litigation.
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Mark the clock at what time?
Why didn't we do this afternoon?
12 of 7 for executive session. 18:47.
Why didn't we do this after new business? That's what was
Thank you, sir.
No, he's from IT. She's going back downstairs.
Are these for people to take?
Are there any in the back?
Where?
In the back, on the tables? If not, you can take one. You can take one of those. No, you can take one. You can take one.
Thank you so much.
Would it be helpful to have a copy of what I said, or helpful to have that?
Doing a Sunshine Act?
Yeah.
We're talking about.
Fast. I know. Well, ours is May 4th.
Yep. All the high school.
I would always put it after new business. Is there a consideration?
Chris, it's just a matter of coming back to quite soon.
So I think that's why.
Oh, they're adding something to the agenda? Oh, all
right. What? Yeah. All right. We call this back in session. Mr. Fedoni, please.
It is now 7:02. We're returning to the meeting. Should be noted on the record that council met privately with the county solicitor's office concerning litigation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is old business. We've got a public hearing on the ordinance entitled An Ordinance by Northampton County Council concurring with the Upper Mount Bethel Township and Bangor Area School District and providing for the property tax exemption for certain deteriorated properties as defined in Ordinance 2017-04 of the Upper Mount Bethel Township pursuant to Act 76 of 1977 of the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as amended 72 PS 4722. The ordinance was introduced by Mr. McGee and Mrs. Zirinsky at the meeting held on March 1, 2018. Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at this meeting. Is there anybody from the public who would like to address this matter? Seeing nobody, anybody from council, comments, questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. I brought it up. There's just one thing that needs to be on page 3. It needs to be changed. I guess we could bring that up now before we read it. And it should be, it has the first paragraph. It talks about property taxes within the city of Bethlehem. So that should be that should be changed to the borough, the Upper Mount Bethel Township.
Not a borough.
Township.
Do we have to have a amendment of this to fix that?
Yeah. Is that a motion to amend?
Yeah, you want a motion
Sure,
to
I'll
amend
put that
it?
in the form of a motion to amend, Mr. President.
And okay.
And I have a motion and a second. Matt's the second. Any discussion on the motion? Kind of cut and dry. We'll have a vote.
I just wanted to say I think it's important that they get this off the ground tonight instead of waiting for 2 weeks. Okay. And it's good that we can do that for them, hopefully.
Call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. D.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky. And Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 9-0.
Okay, any other discussion on the ordinance as amended? Okay, I'd like to call for the vote on the ordinance as amended. What?
Motion and a second. All right.
No.
What? Going to vote on the ordinance amended.
Yeah, because we're amending the ordinance. So then
Now,
do the regular vote.
Good.
It's been amended, so.
well, public hearing on the amended.
I still don't see.
Well, we already did that.
We changed.
Are we calling for the vote or what?
We're calling for the vote.
Okay.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky. Yes. Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
And Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is a public hearing of the ordinance entitled An Ordinance Providing for an Amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 4 or 5, I forget. Roman numerals are bad. 4 for the controller of the County of Northampton, Eastern Pennsylvania. The ordinance was introduced by Mr. Kuzic and Mr. Heckman at the meeting held on March 1, 2018. Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held tonight. Anybody from the public have any questions or comments? Seeing no one, does anybody from County Council have a comment?
I'd like Mr. Kuzic to just encapsulate what I had seconded.
Sure. As it's currently written, the Home Rule Charter appears to restrict the county controller from having a part-time job. And over the past 8-10 years, it's been a constant political football. And there should be no reason why the county controller should not be able to referee football games or teach part-time at a college on his own time if it doesn't conflict or interfere with his business. And that's all this would do, and my hope is that the voters support it, and I will support it this evening.
And I agree with you, Mr. Kuzic. It's been a political football for 10, we have a lot of those around here, political footballs, for the last 10 years or so or longer, and I will be supporting this ordinance. Anybody else wish to discuss this? Seeing no one? Call for vote.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky? Mr. Dietz?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Ordinance passed by a vote of 9-0.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is a public hearing for ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Providing for the Compensation of Elected Officials of the County of Northampton." It was introduced by Mr. Kuzic and Mr. Dietz on March 1. Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at this meeting. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Seeing no one, anybody from council? Mr. Kuzic.
Mr. Kraft, based on our discussion yesterday and some input from several members, I'd like to offer the following amendment to the ordinance as proposed. The first one is item number 1. I would like to have that removed. That's the compensation of the county executive. Paragraph, reason being, many of you said that there is no urgency because this wouldn't need to be done until 2021. And thereabouts. And then I would also like to remove paragraph 2. That one deals with the compensation of council members. Many of you expressed misgivings about that yesterday during the committee meeting. And then the last thing I would like to remove is the last paragraph. Mr. Spadoni had some issues with potentially binding future councils to review this every 4 years. There really is no reason for us to do that, and I'm welcoming his suggestion, and I would remove that. So we would remove paragraphs 1, 2, and then the one at the bottom with regards to all to the 4-year review. So that's my proposed amendment, and that would leave one item, and that would raise the controller's salary to $75,000 effective January 1, 2020.
Okay, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second? Mr. Dietz, any further discussion on that amendment? Seeing none, call for the vote on the amendment as stated.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Dietz?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
No.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
I'm going to abstain from this.
It's just a control.
Fargo Hefner?
No.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 6-2 with 1 abstention.
Okay, so on the table now is a amendment to just the only thing we're doing here is effective 2020, the county controller of the county of Northampton shall be compensated on a per annum basis in the amount of $75,000. Anybody from the public wish to discuss this amended amendment? None. Seeing none. I just want to say that, you know, when we went out to the public for this position, we had 3 people respond. I find no problem with compensating the next controller that runs for it and is duly elected at this rate, and I'm going to support your amendment, Mr.
Thank
Kuzic.
you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Heckman.
This goes in line with why I didn't support it to begin with. I know there's discussions about how we're going to deal with the executive or how we should deal with council salaries. And frankly, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of this salary and the amount that the controller would make. I'm sort of concerned with the process, and I've heard of the idea of getting a ballot position together. As far as the 3 individuals, I can only speak for myself. I guess it's just an attitude I've had. I mean, I've never seen a situation where anybody had to twist anybody's arm for running for any of these things. There's a lot of people hurting out there. I'm not saying that the controller isn't worth $75,000 or the other things, but we did put these to the side primarily because there weren't the votes. I mean, it's the rule of 5. And number 3, the controller, I guess because it's the least offensive to the administration and us, it's going forward. But I just want to say I have to vote no as a matter of conscience for myself.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? I would like to just say in public that people have a worth for what the jobs they do, and I thought it was quite evident that no one applied for this job because of salary, because you have to have a professional degree to do the job. So I to do it properly. So I am going to support it. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I thought we were going to put it on the ballot. I thought that was the right thing to do, and that's kind of why I'm just not really in support of this.
Well, the Home Rule Charter allows county council to set salaries. That's already went through the ballot. So
we talked about it the other night, and I think everybody was kind of feeling the same way. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Also,
Any other
there's
discussion?
A big change of heart again.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Tara.
Tara, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. In the discussion, I think we said that the first two would be put on a referendum, but that the third followed the Home Rule Charter.
Mr. Kuzic withdrew those two, so there's really no, it's gone. That'll be in 2 weeks if we decide to do something.
Okay, so then can you clarify exactly what we're voting on right
We're
now?
voting on the raise to put the compensation for the controller, whoever runs for that office in 2 years, up $10,000. Because we couldn't find anybody to run for the job.
Right, okay.
That's all. That's the only thing we're voting on. Everything else has been removed, as amended.
Okay, so just one more point of clarification. I'm really sorry. But at the other meeting, we also talked about attaching it to CPI.
That's a whole different
Not
issue.
on here.
That's not on this, that's not what we're discussing right now. That's a discussion for future.
Okay.
That's not in here.
No, I know it's not in here, but that was part of the discussion.
Right.
I thought.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dees.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
No.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
No.
And Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 7-2.
Please forget that.
Thank you. Is there any other old business to discuss today in front of council? Hearing none. New business. Have an introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Providing for an Amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 7, Finance." Mr. Dietz, could you please introduce the ordinance?
Sure. Be it hereby ordained and enacted by Northampton County Council that Section 1, proposed amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter. A proposed amendment to Northampton Home Rule Charter shall be prepared for the presentation as a referendum question on the May 15, 2028 primary election. Said referendum question shall be prepared and acted upon in accordance with the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 11, and that all applicable laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And B, proposed question is, shall the electorate of Northampton County approve a change in Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 7, Finance, to require the voter approval for the county to incur certain types of debt? Article 7, Finance, Section 709, voter approval to incur certain types of debt shall read as follows. Voter approval would be required for the issuance of the county of private activity bonds, including those in which the proceeds are to be used by a 501c3 organization, all refined in the Internal Revenue Code or lease rental debit that, as defined by Section 8002A of the Pennsylvania Local Government Unit Debt Act, to the extent that the said bonds would be considered an obligation of or create any recourse against the County of Northampton, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, or any other political subdivision thereof. And then this ordinance shall become effective 30 days after the date of enactment.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Kuzic will second it. There will be a public hearing, debate, and possible vote will take place at the April 5th, 2018 meeting. Next thing we have on the agenda is consideration of personnel requests, resolutions, court administration, Department of Fiscal Affairs, and the Department of Human Services. Court administration, Mr. McGee, could you please introduce the resolution?
Sure.
Well, he's going to do one of
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of pretrial officer, pay grade CP 251A, salary of $47,857 shall be created in the Department of Court Administration, effective March 15th, 2018. This was discussed at the, are we going to roll through them all? Or
No, we're going to do one at a time.
Okay, this was discussed at the, at our Personnel Committee meeting, and it was voted out of committee unanimously.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGee. Is there any discussion? Mr. Kuzic.
I just wanted to, I know we have some young people in the audience, and I thought that this might be an interesting topic that they might want to be aware of. Yesterday, during a committee meeting, we had a presentation from the court administration. And what they're looking to do is they're looking to create a position here that will enable the county to reduce the amount of bail for pretrial criminal defendants. And the hope is that we'll have less people incarcerated, and by adding this position, it'll enable us to reduce our costs of keeping people in jail while they are awaiting trial. If they can be released upon their own recognizance, it saves us a lot of money. There won't be any violent offenders, and there'll still be some judicial discretion. But I think it was a good presentation, and I think we need this position moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzic, our resident teacher. We have a couple of them, so there will be a quiz after the meeting.
That was
to
a
get
very
your,
good. That was a
paper
very
signed.
good class planner.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion
Succinct
on
and
this?
direct.
Any other discussion on this matter at hand? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deep.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
And Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. The next item is the Department of Fiscal Affairs. Mr. McGee, could you introduce the resolution, please?
Resolution, it is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of payroll administrator, supervisor, pay grade CS 25-2B, salary $53,779 shall be created in the Department of Fiscal Affairs Payroll Division, effective March 15, 2018. This also was discussed at our committee meeting we held yesterday, and we moved it out of committee for vote.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion from County Council on this matter? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
And the final one in this section is the Department of Human Services. Mr. McGee, could you please introduce the resolution?
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of caseworker 2, pay grade PS 35, salary $39,466 shall be created in the Department of Human Services Early Intervention Division, effective March 15, 2018. This also was discussed and moved out of committee.
Any discussion, questions on this? We talked about it last night for quite some time. None?
Aren't there like 5? There's more than one, though, right? There's more than one position, right?
There's more.
Well, I'm going to go down all the
Each one?
divisions.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mr. Kuzic wanted to vote them on individually. So, call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
And Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Mr. McGee, you're on.
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of clerk typist 2, pay grade PS 27, salary $28,024 shall be eliminated in the Department of Human Services, Mental Health, Early Intervention, and Developmental Program Division, effective March 15, 2018. It is further resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of fiscal assistant, pay grade PS 29B, salary of $29,451 shall be created in the Department of Human Services, Mental Health, Early Intervention, and Developmental Program Division, effective March 15, 2018. This was voted out of committee for a vote tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Is there any further discussion from County Council on this?
Just one comment.
One comment.
That, along with what Mr. Kuzic said before, for the students who are probably forced to give some kind of report coming here tonight, besides watching a bunch of older people talk at each other. Human services, you're going to see a few positions, is one of what they call the core services that we are responsible for in the county government. It's, if we don't do it, nobody will do it. The state punts it down to us because they don't want to deal with some of this. So they give us the money and say, you do the work, some of the money. And that's what this is all about. So that's something you may be able to plug into your respective reports if you need to do that. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. That will be part of your quiz for your signature also. Any other discussion? Any other anecdotes? Call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9 to 0.
Put the fireplace on.
All right, Mr. McGee, you're on.
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one part-time position of clerical technical
Technician.
technician 3, clerical technician, pay grade of CS 15, salary $16,238, shall be eliminated in the Department of Human Services, Graysdale Nursing Home, Nursing Administration, effective March 15, 2018. It is hereby further resolved by the Northampton County Council that one part-time position of clerical technician 2, pay grade CS 13, salary $14,808, shall be eliminated in the Department of Human Services, Graysdale Nursing Home, Nursing Administration, effective March 15, 2018. It is further resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of clerical specialist, pay grade of CS 17-1A, salary of $35,608, shall be created in the Department of Human Services, Graysdale Nursing Home, Nursing Administration, effective March 15, 2018. This was discussed in committee, moved out of committee for a vote tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Is there any discussion from County Council? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
And Mr. Kuzic.
No.
Passes by a vote of 8 to 1.
Okay, Mr. McGee.
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of Accountant 1, pay grade of HS 35, salary of $40,622, shall be created in the Department of Human Services, effective March 15, 2018. This was moved out of committee for a vote tonight.
Okay, any further discussion from council? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
And Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9 to 0.
All right, Mr. McGee.
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of MR Program Specialist 1, pay grade of HS 39, salary of $48,443, shall be created in the Department of Human Services effective March 15, 2018. This was discussed and moved out of committee for a vote tonight.
Any other discussion from council? Seeing none, call for the vote, please.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
And Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9 to 0.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGee. Next thing on the agenda is consideration of funding for the Northampton County Easter egg hunt resolution. Mr. Heckman, could you introduce the resolution, please?
I certainly will. If any of you ever end up on here, that's why you don't want to be chairman of the Personnel Committee. A lot of reading, a lot of talking.
It's fun.
All right. It is hereby resolved that Northampton County Council approves the allocation of $800 from the Department of Administration's 2018 budget to the Northampton County Sheriff's Department to be used for the Northampton County Easter egg hunt, which will be held on March 24th, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Any discussion on the amount of eggs or the colors or anything that we want to have on this?
The Constitution that they are plastic,
They are plastic.
hopefully
The type of
recycled.
egg, do we want goose eggs or recycled eggs? Now, any
Just
serious
saying.
discussion on this Easter egg?
No,
Okay,
the
call for the
children need
vote.
eggs. Let's go.
Wait, somebody's here.
You want to tell them where it is?
Is somebody here? Somebody want to discuss this Easter egg deal?
Department's here.
There he is. There she is. There they are.
Egg Fest 2018.
Put that fireplace on.
I have the fireplace on constantly.
Council members.
How are you?
Council members, how are you? We're up here to ask for a continued donation of $800 for our annual Easter egg hunt for the Northampton County employees and their families. It's been going on over 10 years. I've been participating in it for 6. It progressively gets bigger and bigger. The kids have a great time. The money goes towards the food, the preparation of the eggs, the baskets, etc. So.
Yeah, I know Mr. Rinsky had questions on the color eggs and the type and
It wasn't the
yesterday.
color. Just
How about where
they're
and
plastic.
They're plastic.
Do they go to the kids or do you recycle them every year?
We asked if they recycle. We have a big box that, if they wish to recycle them, we reuse them so that we can cut the cost down.
See, that's important.
Environmentally sensitive.
Environmentally sensitive. Yeah.
Any other environmental questions about Easter eggs?
How about just where and when it is?
Yeah, where and when,
It's at
please.
the Louise Moore Park on the 24th at noon.
Thank you.
And it's very well attended. It's
will be.
pretty popular. Yeah.
There are hot dogs.
It's great.
Yeah,
It's
we have
great.
Easter Bunny come every year.
Food.
Comes in a convertible and.
He can play Easter Bunny.
So which one are you?
Yeah, he's my escort. I have the little eyes looking forward. So.
Nice,
Okay,
nice.
great. Perfect.
Good
All right,
job.
any other questions for these? Any other questions?
No, it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Call for the vote, please.
No dyed chickens.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dees. And Mr. Ferraro.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is consideration of the Minty Lake Improvement Project's resolution. Ms. Zirinsky, could you introduce the resolution, please?
Whereas the County of Northampton implemented the Northampton County Open Space Initiative enacting the Northampton County Open Space Ordinance number 423-2004 on November 5th, 2004, and whereas Minty Lake was a 117-acre lake built in 1970 by the Pennsylvania Boat and Fish Commission as a local and regional destination for fishing and boating surrounded by 194 acres that was leased to Northampton County in 1975 as part of its parks system. And whereas the current focus was improving the 20 acres of active visitor areas by replacing, renovating, and rebuilding decades-old park amenities and infrastructure, building new recreation and park facilities, improving fish habitat and fishing success, and making Minty Lake an accessible recreation area for everyone, regardless of physical abilities. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that Northampton County Council supports using $500,000 from the Open Space Initiative and Act 13 Marcellus Shale Legacy Fund to be used as matching dollars for grants from the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Community Conservation Partnership Program. Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program, Community Development Block Grants, Monroe County Local Share Accounts, Lehigh Valley Community Foundation, and other private foundations. This was brought forward in our Open Space Committee and voted on now.
Thank you, Ms. Zirinsky. Is any discussion on this? Questions? I think we had it in your meeting was quite long and lengthy.
It was riveting.
Riveting. Seeing there's no questions or anything, let's call for the vote, please. Minty Lake.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
And Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Next thing on the agenda is consideration of the Minty Lake Recreational Rehabilitation Project Resolution. Ms. Zirinsky, can you read the now therefore it is hereby resolved?
Okay. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council. One, the Northampton County Council hereby approves the Minty Lake Recreational Rehabilitation Project grant application to the Pennsylvania DCNR. Further, the Northampton County Executive, through the Office of the Program Administrator of the Northampton County Livable Landscapes Program or his/her designee, is directed to take any and all steps necessary to administer and complete Northampton County's obligations in this project. The signature page for grant application and grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the applicant by the official who, at the time of signing, has the title of Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. If this official signed the signature page for grant application and grant agreement Prior to the passage of this resolution, this grant of authority applies retroactively to the date of signing. If the applicant is awarded a grant, the signature page for grant application and grant agreement signed by the above official will become the applicant grantee's executed signature page for the grant agreement, and the applicant grantee will be bound by the grant agreement. Any amendment to the grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the grantee by the official who, at the time of signing of the amendment, has the title specified in paragraph 2 of the grantee will be bound by the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Rinsky. Any discussion on that?
I just want to say is we're doing teachable moments. If you don't get a chance, some of the folks left, so here's another pop for your report. Minty, the whole Minty Lake area up there is just fantastic. I don't know if any of you have ever been in the county park system, but it's up at Mr. Dertinger's neck of the woods. You just get on 611 and keep driving, and you'll find it.
You run into the lake if you keep driving?
If you keep driving. Well,
there's no water in it right now.
There's nothing in it right now.
Well, but it's still a beautiful area. You can walk the path. You might see a black bear. Who knows? That's all.
That's all?
That's it.
Sure.
And you can shoot archery.
All right, come on, bring it back in here. Mr. Heckman likes to get us on a tangent. Any other discussion?
Okay, I got you.
Nothing? All in, call for the vote.
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deeds.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
And Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda, number 6, consideration of the Minty Lake Conservation Corridor Plan Resolution. Mr. Rinsky, could you please read it's a huge one again. Therefore, be it resolved.
Okay. Therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council. The Northampton County Council hereby approves the Minty Lake Conservation Corridor Plan Project Grant application to the Pennsylvania DCNR. Further, the Northampton County Executive, through the Office of the Program Administrator of the Northampton County Livable Landscapes Program, or his or her designee, is directed to take any and all steps necessary to administer and complete Northampton County's obligations to this project. The signature page for the grant application and grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the applicant by the official who, at the time of the signing, has the title of Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. If this official signed the signature page, do you want me to keep going?
Might as well. I mean, Mr. McGee had to read all night long, so it's your
Okay,
turn.
all right, hey, I can do it. So if this official signed the signature page for the grant application and grant agreement prior to the passage of this resolution, this grant of authority applies retroactively to the date of signing. If the applicant is awarded a grant, the signature page for the grant application and grant agreement signed by the above official will become the applicant grantee's executed signature page for the grant agreement, and the applicant grantee will be bound by the grant agreement. Any amendment to the grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the grantee by the official who, at the time of the signing of the amendment, has the title specified in paragraph 2, and the grantee will be bound by the amendment.
Great job. Any discussion? None? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deeds.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Next thing on the agenda is consideration of a resolution supporting the Delaware Riverkeepers Network opposition to the Penn East Pipeline proposal. Mr. Rinsky, could you please read now, therefore, be it resolved?
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby support the February 15th, 2018 petition of the Delaware Riverkeeper Network to the Delaware River Basin Commission, asking that the DRBC exercise its jurisdiction over the proposed Penn East Pipeline project to prevent a substantial impact to and degradation of the water quality of the Delaware Basin. We had an extensive conversation about this already in open spaces, so.
You're so moved. Any other discussion on this proposal?
Isn't that already being done? I mean, the Delaware River Basin Commission? It's their job.
We are showing our support for this commission.
For the commission.
Yes, in opposition to the pipeline, in solidarity with the landowners in the open spaces and the preserved land that is being condemned now.
You're not
This is
objecting
also-
to the pipeline.
No.
You're just asking in this one that you're going to use your, take care of our natural resources while you're doing it.
This is in support of the DRBC. They have
Okay.
extensive hearings, and they haven't issued their water permits yet. The DEP has already issued its permit. We did discuss this in open spaces.
Okay, I wasn't there,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
We had an extensive discussion on it.
All right.
The
Ready to
part,
move on?
yeah, I cut part of it because I came later, but I'm going to support this in honor of the Ides
Just
of
to
March.
support the-
Well, it's the Ides of March, and Ms. Zirinsky showed great passion, as did the conspirators, so I will, teachable moments, I will support this.
Does anybody else care to,
Today's the Ides of March.
any other discussion on this? Seeing none, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deep.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Finally, the consideration of a resolution supporting the Delaware River Keepers Network request for a rehearing regarding the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission certificate for the Penn East Pipeline. Would you please introduce it, Ms. Zirinsky?
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby formally request the FERC to hold a rehearing for the approval of the Penn East Pipeline project because the necessary approvals from New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Delaware River Basin Commission, or the United States Army Corps of Engineers has not been received. This also was discussed in our open space meeting extensively.
Thank you, Ms. Zirinsky. Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, I have a question on this. Does this actually force them to have a rehearing, or is it just us advising them to have a rehearing?
The latter.
The latter.
The latter.
Okay.
This
All right.
is a resolution.
Okay.
They're just waiting for
Any other discussion, questions, answers, anecdotes?
Beware the Ides of March.
Should we make a teachable moment out of it?
No, thank you.
I think they've been set enough.
Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deep.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
No.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Kraft.
Abstain.
Mr. McGee.
I'm going to abstain, too.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 6-1 with 2 abstentions.
Okay, is there any other new business to be discussed tonight? There's an error on the agenda that asks us to go into another executive session. Mr. McClure, you want to go into another one? No. Okay. So please strike that. We're not going into another executive session. We've already done that. Do I have any council committee reports? Seeing none.
Oh, wait.
Any council liaison reports?
You went too fast.
Well, you,
I have one. Human Services met this evening.
Peg, we're having one meeting.
Human Services Committee met this evening. We discussed updates on Graysdale, got a good report on area aging and the corrective actions that they're taking on the failure. I just want to commend them on the quick work that they're doing and how well they're working with the state. And, you heard about all the updates in terms of the positions, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other council
Finance.
committee reports?
Finance met yesterday. The controller gave us some audit reports. I'm sure council has gotten those. So we did discuss those, and also we had the Easter egg hunt. So there you are. That was about it.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Mr. Zirinsky?
We've already discussed a lot of what happened in the Open Space Committee meeting, but that also everybody was given a letter from the Township Council of Lower Saucon Township requesting in writing that they would like us to have a similar interactive pipeline information center like Chester County. So that was something discussed briefly in the meeting, so I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the council here.
What exactly is an interactive pipeline website?
You can see where all the
Like a
You
map-
can see
like a
where all the
map.
pipelines are, and they're identified, so you can understand where they're co-located or not located, or the geographical areas, like the
All right.
geology around them.
All right, and who's going to pay for that?
Well, the messenger of
Oh,
the
okay.
request.
All right.
I am not saying
Okay.
that I'm going to pay for it or that we are. We are just hearing the request and passing it on.
Okay.
Mr. President, just a suggestion. Wouldn't much of that information be available through the PA1 call system that you have to use to dig?
811? No, because not necessarily, because we're talking about transmission lines, not
have
just
to be.
distribution lines.
It would have to be. Anything that when you call to dig, anything that's underground, they tell you you can't dig here because there's something there. So all that information should be available somewhere. I mean,
I think the request was to look at the Chester County site to see if we can have things similar to them, and just to look into it for right now. I don't
Okay.
believe that there would be much of a cost to just research it, and I would be happy to do that on my own. Because why not?
Why not?
I got some spare time.
Thank you. Is any other committee reports?
No.
Committees?
Personnel met yesterday, but we pretty much covered all that with the appointments tonight.
Okay, no more committees. Any liaison reports?
I have one.
You have one?
Mental health, early intervention, and developmental programs met. New board members were introduced. All the different programs were discussed. I think the two most important things is that in early intervention, they're losing one of their daycare programs, and it's just not being replaced. So there's a lot of children that will be impacted. So they're in the process of looking for new vendors that will assist with that. The other thing is just that they really wanted to say that they felt very valued and supported by the new administration and the new council, and that they felt that they were heard. And I, conversely said, we appreciate all the good work that they're doing to keep things afloat.
That's great. Thank you. Any other liaison reports?
I have two.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Sorry. So the Education Committee, as part of the Conservation Districts meeting, just scheduled to present environmental planning. That's on their schedule, and they have teacher workshops. And March 1st, they are applying for a grant for $1,800 for Lehigh Valley Greenways, and applied for and acknowledged we have secured the Blue Valley Farm Show Complex, and they have a bunch of different educational opportunities for people to learn about conservation. The other report is from Farmland Preservation Board. We had a significant discussion on biosolids, on the pipeline, and dairy farming. Apparently there's a difficulty among dairy farmers and the price of milk. And we talked a lot about how preserving their farmland would be helping those farmers because giving them additional funds. We also talked about the Right to Farm Act and its relationship to biosolids and the spreading thereof in the Slate Belt. Done. That was a riveting 3-hour meeting. I just
I know, I'm sure it was. Always when you talk about spreading biosolids on fields, it's got to be riveting. Any other liaison reports?
I have no idea.
Seeing none. Council Clerks report. Nothing. One day you're going to have
Are we ever
something.
going to get the chairs?
Oh, the chairs, right. I'm sorry. Any update on the chairs?
They were ordered on Tuesday, and we should get a delivery date shortly.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay. Council Solicitors report.
Nothing.
Nothing at all? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You're like a freaking genius.
What'd I tell you?
You're like
an hour, 15 minutes.
It all worked out, didn't it?
What do you
We'll
think?
sign them.
Where would you like it?
No, you got to sign the kids' thing. Come on. Come on, Albert. Come on. Are you guys at Easton? What grade are you in?